This morning, I am feeling hopeful. It feels vulnerable to say that because hope is something that requires us to risk something to feel. My hope is still fragile, like a new sprig just barely emerging from the earth. Is it too early? Will another frost come? Will there be enough rain to nurture it as it grows? It's okay if you are not hopeful in this moment. And it is okay if, even though you are not sharing it with very many people yet. Sometimes we need to protect our hopes when they are new and tend to them a bit before we bring them out into the world. Perhaps your hope is more of a whisper this morning, heard in the night or as dawn breaks, shared as a secret for the person nearest and dearest to you. Maybe that person is yourself. As we reflect together on what seeds of hope we are planting, we know that to plant them, that to speak them aloud and type them into a screen, that to share them with the world is to take a risk. They may not sprout. They may not grow as we first imagined. And sometimes that is okay. Not every hope grows. Sometimes the idea of them is enough, but sometimes they do indeed grow. I believe that an important ingredient to germinating a new hope into the world is faith. We need to believe not only in the hoped for future, but have faith in those that will be required to make it so. Alan Jones defines faith this way: faith is the willingness to have one story tested by a larger narrative that one takes on trust. The very idea of trust also feels vulnerable. We have ample evidence of times when trust has been broken, and yet, to nurture hope, we need faith that this time we and those around us will keep the promises we make. For me, my faith is rooted in relationship with others. This is why I describe myself as a humanist. I believe in us, that largest sense of us, even knowing that we've made mistakes and we will again, even knowing that we do not always act in the interest of those most in need. I believe that we can do better and that we can do well enough to bring about change in this world. I have faith that we can nurture one another's hopes for the future. So where does this sense of faith come from? Or rather, how do we hold on to it during times when promises are broken and disaster strikes? This is where love comes into play. Love is what allows us to try again, to show up again, to be open enough to new possibilities. Our relationships are held together by it. Our actions are made better for it. And our lives are part of a larger whole because of it. Love also helps us nurture our hopes over the long haul. It keeps us gentle enough and caring enough to help grow the abstract into the tangible and to repair what is damaged. Forgiveness comes from love. Healing comes from love, too. On this Easter, this particular one, I am hopeful. The story of this holiday and this season is infused with possibility. It holds up the idea that life is possible. It holds up the idea that even when humanity is cruel, we can return once more to relationship and healing. That death itself is not the end of the story, for there are those that will continue it beyond any single death. The story of today is actually not one of death at all, but rather one of life. Life with a capital L. Life that goes beyond the individual and beyond the human to all that is. Because that is one place to rest our hopes, in the larger story of life itself. We hear its call especially during springtime, but it is there during the coldest seasons too. Life calls to us even when we are not listening for it. As a child once told the famous UU teacher, Sophia Lyon-Foss, after studying seeds that became marigolds in a paper cup, and after the arrival of a newborn sister, which meant the arrival of both unprecedented hatred and unprecedented tenderness. God is what knows how to grow. To me, that sense of what knows how to grow, whether it be a seed, a child, or hope, is what bridges my humanism to a broader religious naturalism. I believe that capital L life is what knows how to grow. And when you combine hope and faith and love, you get life as the product. But it is also the source material, the fabric and the thread, and the creative impulse to make it into a quilt. And it is the quilt itself. Life is that which we hope for and that which creates hope to begin with. They are intrinsically connected, and that is what I see as the deeper meaning of our celebration of the season of spring and the Easter story. That hope and life create a circle, one that encounters death and loss, and yet persists. As Jean Foster's words remind us when she laid at the roots of a redwood tree at night, I heard, down through the earth, the roots of the redwood strain and groan. Up above, way up that massive trunk, the tree must have been swaying in the star-lit night, however gently, with the wind. And I, who could not see the movement above ground, could hear below ground, the roots reaching toward the center of the earth. I could hear the roots hanging on, holding steady, keeping center, giving and taking. I was unforgettably spoken to by this voice from deep below ground, the song of the redwood roots. The tree ceased to be an it, and the tree and I vibrated together in the dark, somewhere below language. In the thou, I said to the tree, I somehow addressed the eternal thou, that interdependent web of all existence. In the groaning of the roots, I heard the song of the universe. And that song of the universe is the song of existence itself. It is the song of life outside our window, the sound of water over rock and moss growing, the groan deep in the earth if we press our ears to it or rest our hands upon it and pause, and the rhythm in our very chests as we breathe and our hearts beat. That hope I mentioned, that is just germinating now, that is beginning to send roots downward and leaves upward, is that we are going to survive this time, that this way of life we've been participating in will be for a season, but not forever. We will be forever transformed by it, and hopefully learn from it. And we will be able to move forward too. There has been loss, and there has been life. There has been broken promises and abiding faith. Just as there has been unnecessary harm, there has also been persistent love. And just as there has been understandable despair, there is continual hope. May each of your hopes grow from seeds to redwoods. May we continue to love one another as we await what comes next. May our faith in this community of fellow travelers hold true. And may we hear the call of life, its songs and its hopes for all. So may it be.